Hey everyone! Today I've got some stuff that'll keep you on edge. If you enjoy it, hit subscribe and leave a like. Here we go. My night shift manager, 47, male, keeps a binder with a page for each of us, and I finally read mine. This one was posted to X back in January by a user called Graveyard Shift Lee. Right from the jump, you can tell this is not someone looking for attention. No dramatic intro, no clickbait buildup. This reads like someone sitting down to type out what they saw before they lose the nerve to talk about it. OP is 24, works the night shift at a regional distribution warehouse. Been there about 8 months. And his manager Greg, this is the guy the whole post revolves around, Greg remembers things. Not in a helpful way, in a way that makes your skin crawl if you think about it too long. So one night, Greg leaves early, dentist emergency. And for the first time in 8 months, OP is alone in that break room with the one thing everyone jokes about, but nobody has ever actually opened. I'm 24, been working night shift at a regional distribution warehouse for about 8 months now. My manager, Greg, 47, male, is one of those guys who remembers everything. Not in a helpful way. More like he'll bring up something you mentioned once 3 months ago in passing and just drop it into conversation like it's normal. Everyone on the crew knows about the binder. Thick black 3-ring, always tucked behind the microwave in the break room. We call it Greg's Bible. Nobody ever actually opened it. Last Wednesday, Greg got called out early, some kind of dental emergency. I waited maybe 20 minutes to make sure he wasn't coming back. Then I pulled it out. Tabbed dividers, each one labeled with an employee's name. I found my tab, and the first few lines looked like normal performance notes. Attendance, task accuracy, stuff like that. Then it shifted. Time-stamped entries logging what I ate for lunch on specific dates. Notes about who I was texting during break with his guesses at the contact name. The exact minute my car left the parking lot each night, down to the second. The last entry on my page was a printed photo, slightly grainy. My apartment building, shot from across the street in what looked like early morning light. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold my phone to photograph the page. I put the binder back exactly where I found it, and I haven't slept right since. That photo at the bottom of the page is the detail that rewires the whole story. Because a binder at work is creepy, but a photo of where you sleep, taken from across the street at dawn, means Greg followed him home. It means Greg knows the route. And this is only what OP found on the first night he looked. OP comes back, and you can feel the shift. Whatever curiosity drove the first post is gone. What's left is someone who looked behind a curtain and can't unsee what was there. He's trying to keep his head down on shift. Clock in, move freight, clock out. But Greg keeps finding small, specific ways to make that impossible. The next few shifts, I'm running on fumes. Tuesday night, Greg walks up and asks how my sister's doing. I have never mentioned my sister to this man, not once. I just smiled, said she's fine, and walked to the other end of the floor before he could see my hands shaking. Thursday, he casually drops that my new grocery store has better produce. I switched stores 2 weeks ago, told nobody at work. He just knows. I got back into the binder the next night he stepped out. Most tabs were normal, shift notes, attendance, basic stuff. But 3 or 4 pages were dense like mine, full of personal details, schedules, photos. Danielle from receiving had a whole page, her new boyfriend's name, his license plate number, where they ate dinner last Friday. He's not keeping work records. He's choosing certain people for deeper tracking, and I can't figure out what the criteria is. I showed Marcus the photos during break. He laughed it off at first, called Greg a harmless weirdo. Then he actually looked at the entries and went pale. We went back and forth about what to do. Marcus said Greg's been at the company 9 years, tight with upper management, and going to HR might just get me fired instead. I told him I don't care. I'm filing Monday. I barely sleep during the day now. Every morning I drive home checking my rear view the whole way. And that's where this sits. The binder is still tucked behind the microwave. Greg has no idea anyone's been through it. But that silence has an expiration date, and it's coming up fast. So OP does the thing everyone told him to do. He walks into HR. I went to HR first thing Monday morning. Sat down with the regional rep, a woman named Claire, and laid out everything. Showed her the photos on my phone. She kept her composure, but I watched her jaw tighten when she got to the photo of my apartment building. She said they would investigate and asked me not to discuss it with other employees. Then nothing. 2 full shifts of nothing. Greg showed up both nights like everything was fine. Smiled at me during huddle. Asked if I caught the game Sunday. I almost threw up in the parking lot after the first night because his act was so seamless it made my skin crawl. Third night, about 3 hours in, 2 people from corporate walked in. Greg got called to the office. He never came back to the floor. Word spread fast. Suspended pending investigation. I should have felt relieved, but all I felt was this low hum of dread that would not shut off. His gym bag is still in the break room locker. He left so fast he didn't grab it, and nobody wants to touch it. I have been lying in bed every morning, replaying every single conversation I ever had with him. Every time I mentioned my sister, every time I said where I was grabbing food after shift, he was filing it away. The warehouse feels different without him. Lighter, maybe. But the building itself feels wrong now. Like something soaked into the walls and it is not coming out. The comments did not hold back on this one. The fact that he had a photo of your apartment building is not a workplace issue anymore. That's straight up stalking. Please tell me you filed a police report. HR is not enough for this. HR protects the company, not you. Go to the police directly and bring photos of every page in that binder. I need to know what the other employees' pages looked like. Were they all this detailed, or did he have favorites? I only had time to flip through a few before I heard him coming back. Most tabs had maybe half a page. Shift performance, lateness, stuff you'd almost expect from a manager. Mine had 4 pages front and back. One coworker, Danielle, had about 2 full pages. She quit 3 months ago, and I'm now realizing I should probably reach out to her. That detail about Danielle sat with people. 9 years Greg has been at this company. How many binders before this one? How many Danielles who quit and never knew why they felt so relieved walking out that door? 11 days of nothing. OP's account goes quiet. Then, out of nowhere, he's back with an update post. They searched his apartment, and it's worse than the binder. It's been 11 days. I almost didn't come back to post this, but I need to get it out and I can barely type right now. I went back to the warehouse to grab a jacket I left in my locker. Greg's gym bag was still sitting there in the break room. Nobody had touched it. Something in my gut told me to unzip it. I wish I hadn't. Inside was a second binder. Smaller than the one behind the microwave. This one didn't have employee names on the tabs. It had full names of people who have never worked at the warehouse. I recognized 2 of them immediately. My younger sister, she's 19, and my ex-girlfriend. My sister's section had entries going back over a year. Her class schedule, her usual coffee order, the exact route she walks from the campus parking deck to her building. Over a year. I didn't even start at the warehouse until 8 months ago. My ex's page had a photo of her at a restaurant I have never been to. Greg tracked her on his own after we broke up. I called the police that night. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. They took the binder as evidence. And that's where the whole story flips. The comments caught it fast. The timestamps are what get me. He's not just watching, he's logging. That's methodical. That's not impulsive, creepy behavior, that's a system. Exactly this. People who build systems like that don't just do it at one job. I would bet money this guy has done it everywhere he's worked. This is a pattern with him, not a one-off. If her entries go back over a year, and he only started 8 months ago, then OP was never the target. His sister was. He just happened to get hired where the guy watching her works. That gym bag sitting there for 11 days uncollected, and nobody finds that suspicious? He left it on purpose. He wanted someone to find it. He's not done. Move your sister, now. That last one cut through everything else in the thread. OP came back one more time. And this update was short, almost like he was writing it on his way out the door. They searched his apartment, and it's worse than the binder. Greg never showed up to the HR hearing. Nobody was surprised. When police went to his listed address, the apartment was completely cleared out. No furniture, no forwarding address, nothing. Place looked like nobody had lived there in weeks. Detectives told me they found evidence that Greg had done this before. Identical binder systems at 2 previous employers in different states, going back at least 5 years. Always night shift. Always a quiet supervisory role with access to employee personal information. Same pattern every time. I got a restraining order, but it does not mean much when nobody can actually find him. My sister is staying with me now. I moved her in last Thursday. My ex was notified by police and she is aware of the situation. I installed cameras on every door and window, changed all my locks, and I take a different route to work every single night. I do not know where Greg is. I do not know if he is still watching. I am deleting this account after this post, and I do not plan to come back. Stay safe out there. One comment from early on aged real different after that final post. Please update us and change your route home. Tonight, don't let this guy know your patterns anymore because clearly he already knows too many of them. This is the kind of story that sits with you because of how ordinary the setup is. A weird manager, a binder, a break room. The horror here is not supernatural. It is the understanding that someone can study you for months and you will never feel it happening. The workplace felt like the container, but it was just the access point. Wherever Greg is right now, he probably has a new binder and a new break room. But that is not the only story tonight. This next post came from a user who noticed something wrong with the house across the street, and what they found makes Greg's binder look like a hobby. I'm a forest ranger, 28 male, and there's a woman on the North Ridge Trail that nobody at my station will acknowledge. This one dropped on X back in January, and it's the kind of post where the entire comment section goes quiet. No jokes, no memes, just people telling OP to get out. He opens with the setup, and the isolation alone puts you on edge. I've been stationed at a national forest in the Pacific Northwest for about 7 months now. Small station, skeleton crew, 4 senior rangers who mostly keep to themselves, and me. I do the evening patrol on the North Ridge Trail, about a 6-mile loop, mostly quiet. 3 weeks ago, I'm rounding the bend at mile marker 4, and there's a woman standing in the middle of the trail. Tall, pale blue dress, completely still. Not hiking, not resting, just standing there facing the tree line like she was waiting for something. I radioed it in. Got about 10 seconds of dead air and then a flat copy. That was it. Back at the station, I brought it up casually. Hey, anyone know about the woman up on North Ridge? Every single person in the room went quiet. Dave changed the subject to supply orders. I figured it was just weird crew dynamics and let it go. She was there the next evening, and the one after that, and the one after that. Same spot, same dress, same absolute stillness. I set up a trail cam pointed right at the bend. Footage came back corrupted, warped, distorted frames, audio that sounded like tape hiss layered over itself. So I decided to just walk up to her. Got within maybe 40 yards and tried to look directly at her face. My vision blurred so hard it felt like something was squeezing my eyes from the inside. A low-frequency hum flooded my ears and my nose started bleeding. I stumbled backward, looked away, and everything stopped. Instantly. Like flipping a switch. That's when I understood. The silence from the other rangers wasn't indifference. Every single one of them already learned not to look. That last detail is what gets you. He didn't figure it out from a warning or a conversation. He figured it out because his body physically rejected what he was trying to see. And the guys who could have said something, the ones who already knew, they just watched the new guy walk right into it. OP couldn't shake what happened on the trail. Said he didn't sleep that night. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, flinching at every sound the forest threw at him. Next morning, he decided he was done waiting for someone at that station to volunteer anything useful. I found Dave in the supply room before first light. 19 years at this station, longest tenure by a decade. If anyone was going to level with me, it was him. I told him everything. The woman, the dress, what happened when I tried to look at her face. He just kept sorting batteries into bins, wouldn't look at me. Finally, he goes, "You patrol the North Ridge, you learn the North Ridge." That was it. I pushed harder. He walked out. So I pulled every incident report and station log I could access going back 5 years. Nothing about a woman. Nothing about that bend. But the transfer records told me something. Ranger turnover on North Ridge assignments is way above average. People requesting reassignment after 1 or 2 seasons, sometimes breaking contract early. No explanations filed, just gone. I went back the next evening, kept my eyes low past the bend. She was there, pale blue in my peripheral, that impossible stillness. But this time there was something new. Footsteps, slow and deliberate on gravel, coming from exactly where she stood. She was not moving. I watched from the corner of my eye, perfectly still, but the sound of boots on loose rock was steady and close. I left. Back at my cabin, I locked the door and sat on my bunk. Around midnight, I heard it. Faint gravel crunching right outside my window. Same slow rhythm. I told myself it was deer, wind, the woods settling. I said it out loud just to hear something that wasn't footsteps. So no official record of any of it, but people don't walk away from government postings with no explanation unless something made them. And then there's the footsteps. That detail shifts this whole story. It's not contained to the trail anymore. Whatever is standing at that bend every evening, the sound of it followed him back to his cabin. And OP is sitting there in the dark telling himself it's nothing, and you can feel him running out of reasons to believe that. Things didn't get better. If anything, the next week is where OP starts losing ground. I've got a system now. Patrol the North Ridge, keep my eyes down past the bend, don't engage, don't look, just walk. But the footsteps. They're not staying at the bend anymore. I hear them before I even get close. Slow, deliberate, gravel crunching in a rhythm that doesn't match my pace. I tried recording it on my phone, played it back, and it's just static with this faint pulse underneath, like a heartbeat but wrong, too even, too patient. Here's the part that's messing with me. I caught myself matching my steps to it, not on purpose. My boots were landing in perfect sync with whatever that rhythm is, and I don't know how long I'd been doing it. It's in my head now, even off the trail, like a song stuck in your bones. I called a buddy at another station, and he pointed me to this old forum where retired rangers post anonymously. Spent hours scrolling through vague references to trail phenomena in the Pacific Northwest. Nothing specific. Then I found one post from 2014. No username, no replies. Just one line. If you're on a north-facing ridge and you see her, request reassignment. Don't be proud about it. I haven't slept right in days. I hear gravel in my dreams. I'm posting this because I don't know what else to do. I'm thinking about going to my supervisor formally, but I don't even know what I'd say. The comments on this one hit a nerve. The fact that your coworkers just went silent is almost worse than the woman herself. They knew, and they just let you walk that trail blind. That's what I can't get past. Dave has been at this station 11 years. He paired with me my first week, walked me through every protocol, showed me which creek crossings ice over first, and he couldn't give me one sentence about her. I asked him directly after my second sighting, and he just set his coffee down and left the room. These are people I trusted with my life on search and rescue calls. Former NPS seasonal here. There are things in the manual they don't put in writing. You learn them from the look on someone's face when you ask the wrong question. The nosebleed detail is what got me. That's not fear. That's your body reacting to something it physically cannot handle, like a frequency humans aren't built to receive. That last one stuck with OP more than he wanted to admit. OP came back with an update post. And this one changes everything. She's not on the trail anymore, and the counting won't stop. My hands are shaking typing this. I was down in the station's storage basement digging for batteries, and I found a cardboard box shoved behind a shelf. Old logbooks from the 1980s. I flipped through them mostly out of boredom, and then I hit an entry from October 1987. A ranger with the initials RM, describing a tall woman in a pale blue dress standing at the same bend on the North Ridge Trail. Same bend, same dress. 1987. The first entries are clinical, standard observation format. Then the handwriting starts to change, gets shaky, pressed harder into the paper, like something was building behind the words. The last entry from RM has 3 rules penciled in the margin, in handwriting so unsteady it's barely legible. Do not look, do not listen, do not count her steps. I stared at that third rule and felt the blood drain from my face. I've been counting. Not on purpose, not consciously, but every single night on the trail, I've been counting her footsteps in the gravel, and I can feel the number sitting in the back of my mind like a weight. 3,441. I don't know how I know that number. I didn't decide to count. Tonight she wasn't at the bend on the trail. She is standing outside my cabin right now. Same pale blue dress, same impossible stillness. She has never been this close. The thread lost its mind after that one. Do not count her steps. That line made my stomach drop. Who even thinks to write that unless they learn the hard way? That's the thing about old ranger stations. The real information isn't in the official logs. It's in the margins, the sticky notes, the things someone scratched into a desk. The people who wrote those warnings are long gone, and nobody remembers their names, just their rules. I keep coming back to the trail cam footage being distorted. Not blank, distorted. Like something was there, but your equipment couldn't process it. RM didn't transfer. I looked it up. He's listed as missing since January 1988, and that last one just sits there like a rock in your chest. 2 days went by with nothing. Then, Ridgeline 28 dropped one final post. The tone was completely different. Flat, drained, like someone running on fumes. She's not on the trail anymore, and the counting won't stop. I put in for an emergency transfer this morning, cited personal reasons. Didn't explain further, didn't elaborate, and honestly, I couldn't have even if they asked. My supervisor signed off on it without a single question. He didn't ask why, didn't push back, didn't even look surprised. That absence of surprise might be the worst part of all of this. He already knew. They all already knew. I'm packing my things tonight and driving out at first light. I haven't looked out my windows in 2 days. Blinds down, curtains pulled, lights off near the glass. The gravel footsteps are constant now. Inside the cabin, in the bathroom with the fan running, in my truck with the engine on and the radio turned all the way up. I bought noise-canceling headphones at the general store in town, and the counting got louder. Not quieter, louder. Like it's not coming through my ears anymore, like it's inside my skull. I don't think the transfer is going to help. The counting won't stop. I'm at 4,220, and it's not slowing down. I don't know what happens when it reaches whatever number it's heading toward, and I don't want to be in these woods when it does. Account went dark after that. No replies, no follow-up, no activity at all. And look, the thing that makes this one sit wrong with me isn't the woman. It's the silence around her. Every single ranger at that station knew. They watched a new guy walk straight into it, and nobody said a word. That's not supernatural horror. That's human horror wearing a uniform. And that logbook entry from '87? RM never transferred out. He's still listed as missing. Post is unverified. Account is dead. And that's where it ends. OP, please tell me you've stopped walking that trail. I don't care if it's your assigned route. Swap with someone. Make something up. Nobody answered that one. Alright, the next story coming up might be even worse. Let's get into it. My aunt used to babysit me every summer. I just found out what she was doing in the basement while I slept. This next one comes from X, posted by Throwaway. Basement door, 27 male, back in February. And I need to tell you right now, this is one of those posts where every single detail you read makes the next one hit harder. I almost didn't cover this one. It reads like something completely normal at first, warm even. You almost relax into it, and then it turns. Every summer from 5 to 12, my parents sent me to my Aunt Linda's place in rural Ohio. Old farmhouse, big yard, woods out back, nearest neighbor half a mile away. Aunt Linda was kind. Pancakes every morning, cartoons on the couch until I passed out. One rule, never go downstairs after 9 p.m. She said the stairs were dangerous in the dark. I never questioned it. 8 summers straight. She passed 3 months ago and left me the house. I drove out to clear it. The basement looked normal at first. Concrete floor, shelves, boxes. Then I found a seam in the wall that shouldn't have been there. Pulled the drywall back and found a concealed room. Steel table with drainage channels. A floor drain. Harsh overhead lights. Shelves of unlabeled VHS tapes, dozens of them. One tape had a label. My name and summer 1999. I put it in the old VCR. The footage showed me asleep on the living room couch, filmed from a camera inside that room. While I slept, my aunt opened a side entrance I never knew existed and led strangers into the basement below me. People I've never seen. The tape ran for hours. I was 10. So, just sit with that for a second. A 10-year-old boy passed out on the couch one floor up, cartoons still playing on the TV, and directly beneath him, his aunt is opening a hidden entrance and walking complete strangers into a concealed room with medical equipment and a drain in the floor. That happened every summer for 8 years, and he's only watched one tape. There are dozens more sitting on that shelf. So OP is still down in that basement, still sitting on the concrete floor next to the old TV. And instead of leaving like any normal person would, he starts pulling more tapes off the shelf. What he finds is not a one-off. This was not some isolated incident. This was a system, organized, repeated, spanning every summer he was there. And the details he starts cataloging change how he sees that entire house. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely load the next tape. I sat on that concrete floor pulling one after another off the shelf. There were dozens. They spanned summer 1997 through 2004. Every single summer I stayed there. The pattern was identical on every tape. Camera angle showing me upstairs, sleeping, playing, watching cartoons. Then the footage cuts to the side basement entrance. After dark, my aunt opens it from inside and lets people in. Different people every time, different vehicles. Some carried bags, some brought coolers. Sessions lasted 2 to 4 hours. Some tapes had audio, muffled conversation, equipment sounds, running water. And then I heard it. This low, steady hum underneath everything. I knew that sound. I fell asleep to it every single night I spent in that house. Aunt Linda told me it was the old furnace acting up. It was not the furnace. The side entrance was completely hidden from the main floor. The staircase, the walls, the angles, the whole layout was built so a kid upstairs would never see or hear what was happening below. I called my older cousin that night, asked if she ever stayed summers at Aunt Linda's. She said no. Linda never asked for her, never asked for any of the other kids, just me. Every summer, just me. I don't know what to do with that yet. That detail about the furnace sound is the one that rewires your whole read of this story. Every night, a little kid falling asleep to a hum he thought was just the house being old. And the whole time it was whatever was happening in that room directly beneath him. His aunt told him it was nothing. He believed her because he was 5, 6, 7 years old. Why wouldn't he? And then there's the cousin call. His aunt had other nieces and nephews, other kids in the family she could have invited, but she only ever asked for him. Year after year, same kid. His cousin confirmed it without even knowing what she was confirming. That is going to sit with OP for a very long time. And this story is nowhere close to done. So he goes back into that room. And this time, he's not just looking around, he's reading. I started going through the shelves more carefully. Behind a stack of plastic sheeting, I found a logbook, dates going back to 1995, columns of initials and dollar amounts. Some entries had shorthand notes I couldn't read, but certain words kept repeating. Procedure, prep, recovery. The equipment started making sense too. That metal table with the drain underneath. Surgical table. The sealed metal box. Autoclave for sterilizing instruments. IV stands folded against the wall. Pharmaceutical bottles with every label scraped off. I sat there trying to convince myself this was unlicensed vet work, but the table had restraint points sized for a person. I called my mom, asked her point blank, "Why did you send me to Linda's every summer?" Her voice changed immediately. Not confused, not curious, defensive. She said, "Linda was good to you. Leave it alone." I said, "Mom, there is a surgical table in a hidden room in her basement." She said, "Stop digging into things that don't concern you." I pushed. She hung up. I sat in that house alone that night and couldn't sleep. Because the thing I keep coming back to is this. I was the cover. A kid playing in the yard. A woman making him lunch. Neighbors driving past saw a normal family home. Nobody thinks twice about a house with a child in it. I wasn't there because she loved me. I was camouflage. And the comment section went exactly where you would expect. Unlicensed veterinary work doesn't need a drain in the floor and a concealed room. Your mother knows exactly what it was. She's testing how much you'll accept. That's exactly what I told her. I said those exact words. Vet work doesn't need a hidden room. She went completely silent for about 10 seconds and then changed her story to say she never actually went downstairs herself. She just believed what my aunt told her. But I have a tape where she's clearly visible walking through the side entrance carrying a cooler. She's lying in layers, and I don't know which layer is the bottom. The fact that your mom knew and kept sending you there every summer is the part I can't get past. That's not negligence, that's participation. Brother, I need you to stop watching those tapes alone in that house. Bring someone with you or watch them at the police station. You don't know what's on the rest of them, and you shouldn't be processing that by yourself. OP came back with an update post. And this one changes everything. I watched the rest of the tapes, and I'm not going back to that house. I drove to my mom's place last Thursday, didn't call ahead, sat her down at the kitchen table, and told her everything I found. The room, the equipment, the tapes. She didn't ask what I was talking about. She didn't say, "What basement room?" She just started crying. That told me everything. She admitted Aunt Linda paid her. Every summer she sent me there, Linda wired money. My mom says she was told it was veterinary work. Livestock surgeries for local farmers who couldn't afford real vets. Off the books, but nothing sinister. She says she believed that. I don't. I asked if she ever went downstairs. No. I asked if she ever watched a single tape. No. I asked how much Linda paid her. She wouldn't answer. Just kept saying, "You were safe. You were always upstairs. She never touched you." Like that's the bar. I went back to the house one more time. I watched the tapes from 2003 and 2004. I'm not going to describe what I saw. I'll just say this. Whatever was happening on those tapes was not happening to animals. I made it about 40 seconds into the second one before I stopped it and left the room. Sat in my car in the driveway for an hour. I keep thinking about every summer I spent there. Every night falling asleep to that hum. Every morning she made me pancakes like nothing happened. I'm done with that house. The comments on this update were furious. The tape labeled with your name is what's destroying me. They filmed you sleeping to prove to someone that a kid was upstairs. You were the alibi. This is what makes it so calculated. A house with a child sleeping in it doesn't get searched. Nobody calls in a noise complaint on a house where a little kid is staying with his aunt for the summer. He wasn't collateral, he was infrastructure. Please tell me you've contacted a lawyer along with the police. If your mother was being paid, there's a paper trail somewhere, and you need to protect yourself legally before she destroys anything. So here's where everything landed. I turned everything over. Every tape, the logbook, the photographs I took of that room, all of it went straight to law enforcement. The detective I spoke with told me something that made my stomach drop all over again. He said the case would be folded into an existing investigation. Existing. Meaning they already knew about operations like this in the area. I don't know what to do with that information. The house has been seized. I can't go back even if I wanted to. My mother stopped returning my calls after the confrontation. I've tried 4 times now. Nothing. My cousin confirmed she was never told about any of it. She had no idea. She's as messed up about this as I am. I keep coming back to the same thing. Every single night I slept in that house, I fell asleep to this low mechanical hum coming from somewhere below me. Aunt Linda told me it was the furnace kicking on. I believed her. I was a kid. I know now it wasn't the furnace. I still hear it. When the room goes quiet at night, it's there. I don't think it's ever going away. But honestly, the hardest part isn't what my aunt did down there. It's knowing my own mother put a price on my childhood and decided the number was enough. The comments on this one hit different. I grew up in a rural area, and there was a house like this near us. Everyone thought the woman who lived there was just eccentric. It turned out she'd been running an unlicensed cremation service for people who couldn't go through official channels. The smell was explained away as her wood stove. These things happen more than people think. Your mother knew. She always knew. Yeah, she did. That's the thing about this story. The horror isn't paranormal. There's no ghost, no demon, no curse. It's a family that decided a child was a useful piece of staging. A boy playing in the yard so the neighbors never looked twice. And the question it leaves you with is simple. What would you do if you found out the people who were supposed to protect you were the ones who put you in the room? All right, next story is just as heavy. I stayed at an Airbnb in rural Vermont, and the host let herself into my room at 3 a.m. to welcome me properly. This one came from X, and it starts the way a lot of these do. A solo trip, a too good to be true listing, and a host who seemed perfect on paper. OP is a freelance writer, 27 years old, just looking for 2 quiet weeks in the Vermont countryside to work on a manuscript. She found a listing that looked like it was pulled straight out of a magazine. So I, 27 female, am a freelance writer, and I booked this remote farmhouse in Vermont for a 2-week writing retreat. The listing was gorgeous. Converted 1800s farmhouse, wildflower photos, wood-burning stove, 497 stars across 40-plus reviews. The host, Margot, was warm and articulate, a woman in her 60s who sent me unprompted recommendations for local bakeries and hiking trails before I even asked. I arrived late, around 11 p.m., after a wrong turn on pitch-black back roads with no cell service. Margot left the door unlocked with a handwritten note. "Make yourself at home. Breakfast things in the fridge. I'm just across the meadow in the cottage if you need anything." I locked the front door, deadbolted the bedroom, and passed out fast. I woke up at 3 a.m. to a faint clinking sound. Ceramic on wood. My bedroom door was wide open. The deadbolt was disengaged. Margot was standing at the foot of my bed in a pale nightgown, perfectly still, holding a wooden tray with tea, dark bread, and a small dish of honey. She smiled and said, "Every guest must be welcomed properly. You arrived so late, I hadn't finished." Her voice was gentle, but there was zero acknowledgement that anything was wrong. I froze. She set the tray on the bed and just waited. She did not leave until I drank the tea. A locked door, a deadbolt she engaged herself, and somehow this woman is standing at the foot of her bed at 3 a.m. holding a tray like room service. That is where this one starts, and it only gets stranger from here. After that first night, OP had a decision to make, and looking back, she already knows what she should have done. The tea tasted like chamomile and something else. Earthy, slightly sweet, hard to place. I drank it because I didn't know what else to do. She stood there with this patient, almost proud expression. When I finished, she took the tray and left without a word. I checked the deadbolt, fully functional, no sign of forced entry. No idea how she got in. I didn't sleep. By morning I nearly left, bag half packed. But the farmhouse in daylight was stunning. Wildflowers, mist over the meadow, the whole thing looked like a painting. I told myself she was just eccentric, bad boundaries, maybe early dementia. I texted my friend. My host did a 3 a.m. tea ceremony at the foot of my bed, LOL. She said leave. I didn't. Day 2 was quiet. Rode all day, walked the property, saw Margot's cottage across the field, but no sign of her. That night I shoved the dresser against the bedroom door and slept with my phone in hand. I woke at 3 a.m. again, not clinking this time, footsteps outside the door, slow, deliberate, stopping. The doorknob turned, caught the dresser, stopped. Silence. Then her voice, perfectly calm. "You don't need to block the door, dear. I only wanted to make sure you were comfortable." I didn't answer. The footsteps receded. I booked a motel before sunrise. That voice through the door is the moment this story really locks in. Not angry, not surprised the dresser was there, not even a little bothered. Just this steady, patient certainty, like keeping her out of that room was a cute misunderstanding. Like the idea that a locked door could actually stop her hadn't crossed her mind. She was out before sunrise. But OP couldn't leave this alone, and what she finds when she starts digging into Margot and that property, that changes everything. She made it through the night, and by first light she was already gone. I left before the sun was fully up, drove past the farmhouse one last time, and it looked like something off a postcard. Morning mist rolling through the meadow, the whole thing glowing soft gold. Margot's cottage across the field had no lights on, no car in the driveway, no sign anyone had been there in weeks. I checked into a motel in Montpelier and filed a complaint with Airbnb the second I had Wi-Fi. They were sympathetic, but useless, said they'd look into it, and that Margot's account was in good standing. I left a detailed review describing both 3 a.m. visits. Within hours, it was gone, removed for violating community guidelines around unverified claims about host behavior. I screenshotted everything: the messages, the listing, Margot's profile photo, this soft focus portrait of a silver-haired woman smiling in a garden. Then I started reading through the other reviews more carefully. Every single one was positive. Several called her warm and welcoming. Then I found one from 8 months ago. It said, "Margot goes above and beyond. She even brought me tea in the middle of the night. Such a thoughtful touch." I DM'd that reviewer immediately. The thread was already heating up by this point. "You drank the tea? While a stranger stood over your bed at 3 a.m.? I'm not blaming you, the fear freeze is real, but my God." I know how it sounds, but she was blocking the only way out and she wasn't moving until I took it. She held the cup out and her hand was completely steady, no tremor, no hesitation. I took one sip and she said, "Good," and walked out. I spit the rest into the sink the second she left and locked the door, but here's the thing. There was no lock. I swear the listing photos showed a deadbolt. There was just a smooth plate where it should have been. The fact that she just stood there waiting for you to wake up means she was watching you sleep. For how long? That's the part that would destroy me. Rural Vermont Airbnbs already have a specific energy. This is confirming every fear I've ever had about those cute little farmhouse listings with no neighbors for miles. 4 days later, OP came back with an update post. And this is where the whole thing shifts from creepy to something else entirely. I found the death certificate, and the listing is back up under a new name. I couldn't let this go. I pulled the property records for the farmhouse address to the town clerk's online portal. The property is listed under Margot Tierney, but the record shows no active ownership transfer since 2019. So I dug further. I found an obituary. Margot Elaine Tierney, aged 67, died in hospice care in November 2019 after a long illness. There is a photo with the obituary. It is the same woman from the Airbnb profile. The same woman who stood at the foot of my bed. I contacted 2 of the previous reviewers. Both described the same elderly woman. Same silver hair, same nightgown, same 3 a.m. visit, same wooden tray with tea, bread, and honey. One of them, a man who stayed there 14 months ago, told me quietly that he still dreams about the tea. He said in the dream he's drinking it, and Margot is watching him, and he can't stop swallowing. He said he wakes up with the taste still in his mouth. I'm posting a screenshot of the death certificate from public records. I don't know what else to do with this. She posted the certificate, dated November 2019, and the listing had been active the entire time since. The thread lost its mind. "Every guest must be welcomed properly" is genuinely one of the most unsettling sentences I've ever read on this board. It implies a rule. Rules imply consequences for breaking them. The reviews being perfect is the scariest part. That means everyone who stayed there either thought this was fine or was too afraid to say anything. I went back and found cached versions of some of those reviews. 3 of them mention the host's wonderful personal touch and feeling so taken care of. One says, "Margot made me feel like I never wanted to leave." Read that again slowly. So here's where things finally landed. I found the death certificate, and the listing is back up under a new name. Airbnb finally pulled the listing down. I got an email confirmation, screenshot attached. But here's what they actually wrote. They said they cannot verify my claims regarding the property owner, and that the account holder's identity has been confirmed through standard verification. So a woman who died in 2019 somehow passed their identity verification, and nobody at Airbnb can tell me how. I thought that was the end of it. Then, 3 weeks later, someone replied to my thread with a link. Same farmhouse, same photos, same description. The wood-burning stove, the wildflower meadow, the warm and welcoming host. Different name. New reviews already trickling in. I stared at my screen for a long time. Then I deleted my Airbnb account. I'm done. Whatever this is, whatever she is, I don't want to be connected to it anymore. The thread went quiet after that. Vermont Never Again hasn't posted since. I used to work for Airbnb Trust and Safety. Hosts accessing guest spaces at night is an immediate ban. The fact they told you they can't verify is corporate speak for, "We don't want to deal with this." I stayed at a Vermont Airbnb last fall, and I just checked and it's a different listing, but I'm still shaking. The guy who still dreams about the tea is the detail I can't get out of my head. She's still welcoming guests. The thing that makes this one linger isn't the ghost angle, it's the hospitality. Something dead or not quite dead, still performing care, still following a ritual, still standing at the foot of your bed at 3 a.m. with tea it expects you to drink. Locked doors don't matter. Complaints don't matter. The listing comes back. The tea is always warm. And that is the last story for today.